Valley today. I'm your host, Anne Vickery. Thank you very much for joining us this Friday morning. Joining me today from the Kendall County Board is Kendall County Board Chairman Scott Gryder, and to his right,
Good morning.
Good morning. Like, where the heck are we? And next to him is Lynn Cullick, who is the Vice Chair of the Kendall County Board. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad you could. I
Thank you
know
for
this
having us.
kind of takes out of your own schedule. You're always busy. You both work. You both have families, young families. You have a lot of responsibility on the board, so it's always kind of nice when you guys take time to come over and visit with us here, both on the TV. And when we get done here, we're going to be moving over to 107.1 WSBY, so tune in if you like. And maybe you'll have enough of politics by then, we never know. So Scott, how's it going over there on the board?
It's going well, I think. You know, it's we're a year in, and right, we're a little over a year now.
A little over a year.
And you know, it's going well. And I remember talking with you right after I took office, and you said, "Oh, it'll add maybe another 10 hours or so." And I have to say that I think it's more than 10 hours a week that that it adds to it. But thank you for making me believe that maybe it would not take much more time.
But you gotta remember too, you guys are in a transition of one administrator leaving, hiring another one, and I think that takes more time. There were a lot of responsibilities that administrator had that you had to kind of step into that role.
Right.
So
That's
you know,
true.
there's your time right there, and you know, hopefully that's going to kind of lessen now as Scott Kippel, right?
Right.
That's how you pronounce his name, as he gets more acclimated and steps up to it.
That is true. We did have to step up and do a lot more than what we typically would do, and we're excited now this year that Scott's in place, and you know, he can kind of start doing his thing, and we can move forward.
Right. I wanted to ask you, Lynn, are you on the Planning, Building, and Zoning Committee?
Yes.
Yeah. I was going to ask, I'd asked, Purcell was on here a couple of weeks ago, and he's not on that committee. How about the building permits in the county? Are they really picking up?
They are picking up, yes. New construction actually is picking up a little bit.
Uh-huh.
We're thrilled. We're
Yeah.
thrilled to see that.
We had 32 permits, I think, in 2017, which doesn't sound like a lot, but the previous years were 9 and 10 and 12, so it's really a tripling of where we were at. So
Right.
we've
Right.
definitely seen an uptick.
And I will tell you from experience, keep your eye on that number. And because when we were going through that tremendous growth through the early 2000s, on up through, we peaked about midway through 04 and a half. 04, like June, July of 04, we peaked. And from then on, it became a slow decline. And I think when I think of anything, I think to myself, why didn't we see that coming? As just, you know, the same with the cities and the villages. If you looked at their growth and then how that started to fall off, it just really.
I think everyone was reacting to the growth
Uh-huh.
because I don't know that any of the governmental agencies saw it coming.
Yeah.
I think we had just been in reaction mode because of the explosive growth for so long
Yes.
that no one was really looking and forecasting there was going to be a big change.
Right. And you know, I think when we talk about this as the Great Recession, you know, it's like talking to your grandparents or to my parents when they talked about the Great Depression. People will never forget that. People will never forget what they saw, even though maybe you weren't directly affected in some ways. My family stayed working, my kids and everything, but I'll tell you what, you certainly saw the ripple effect throughout the whole neighborhood everywhere.
Well, and that's something that is, you're absolutely right. You know, we're 10 years out, and it's something that's in the back of my mind all the time because I work in the real estate industry, which got hit so hard. So the company that I worked for in 2008, you know, 3/4 of the company was laid off, and I was very fortunate, but you know, I had pay cut, I had 401ks that were frozen, so that's something that I still think of now when we're in negotiations or different things like that. It's in the back of my mind. I know a lot of people in the county, you know, were hurt.
Right.
Yeah, and I lived through it too with a company that closed, and it was really literally overnight.
Right.
We were told on a Friday afternoon that the company was closing. This was our last day. You know, we hope that it was probably 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We hope that you'll work until the day is out, but here are your final checks, and you know, goodbye.
Yeah. And how many people stayed till the day was over?
Their parking lot was cleared out about 20 minutes later.
20 minutes. See ya.
Exactly.
You say that
exactly.
again.
So, and that was rough. It was very difficult, and you know, I am blessed to not be the only breadwinner in the household, but it certainly affected us personally.
Think about the single mothers that or the single parents that were there, and all of a sudden here we are, you know,
Right.
with somebody
Absolutely.
without a job. Now, we talked a little bit about you hiring Scott Kipple as your administrative manager. Now you're in the process of looking for an IT director. Is that true?
Yes. We're just starting the process now. We're just posting and starting that process. We updated the job description, which we needed to do. We're reviewing job descriptions and in the employee handbook, and you know the administration HR committee's been very, very busy.
Yeah, you are chairman of that, aren't you?
I am. We've been very busy trying to tighten things up and
And as chairman of that
and doing
committee, the
everything.
technology falls underneath that, so
Yes.
you're really right in the middle of it.
We are right in the middle of
So when you say technology falls underneath that, what do you mean by that?
the technology department falls under the realm of administration.
Oh, I see what you're talking about.
Right.
But so the IT director is going to still answer to administration,
Yes.
as they did before.
Yes.
Yeah, right. And so how about some of the other departments, GIS, that used to answer to administration? Are they going to answer to administration, or will they answer to the IT director?
They are under the IT director,
Okay.
which ultimately then reports to
Administration. I see.
administration.
Okay, I just wondered. All right, I wanted to get to a couple other things here. You know, we just briefly off camera before we came on the air, we talked a little bit about Butterball that had closed and Carl Buttig coming in. What do you think about all? I mean, it's a good thing, but have you heard anything about what those jobs might pay, or what's involved in that, or when they might actually come in? And
Well, we know that they're hiring now, and we know that they are hiring, and there's a significant number of positions that are open, but we have not gotten much detail on what those positions are, what that pay scale looks like.
yeah, I think that's going to be the thing that people are going to be looking at. If they're $15 an hour jobs, that's a problem.
Right.
You know, if they're 22 to 25, 28 or more, people can now say, well, that's something I can really look forward to.
True.
And of course, the benefits that go along with that. And then brings me to the thing that we talk about a lot, but I know that, and you're heading the committee for the Caterpillar whole
Part of
deal
it,
there.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. What's going on with that?
Well, we were part of a meeting. I think it was towards the end of last year. I forget the exact timing, but with the new brokers that we met, they now have JLL is the new broker that's going to market the property. I guess it's a good thing is that now there's been an uptick in orders at Caterpillar. So I'm told that there were 75 of the big end loaders that are now they're coming forward. So the timeline publicly is still the same, end of 2018. But if they're moving quickly, I'm wondering if it may bleed into 2019 as well.
Yeah, and if you looked at Caterpillar stock,
It's going up.
it's $170 a share now.
It is.
So that gives you some indication of where, of course, a lot of it is everybody's trying to be positive about the economy. But I have to tell you, there's, you could be traveling down the road on I-57, southbound I-55. You could be meeting, coming, going, passing, whatever way, and seeing one of those big end loaders on the back of a truck, and you say, you know what? That came from Kendall County.
Right.
That's
Our
right.
people built that.
That's right.
And
there was so much to me. There was so much personal pride in that.
Absolutely.
There still is in the county. When you walk around, I see a lot of people still wearing their Caterpillar hats, and it's definitely a badge of honor to a lot of people in our county.
It is.
And so it was. We were very disappointed when they announced they were leaving, and it's done so much for our community that we'd like to see it stay. And I will say, just to finish the point, when we had our meeting with the brokers, they were very optimistic that we have a good location that's there. Sometimes people talk about the fact that we're not right on the interstate, but they didn't see that as an impediment. That they felt that this was a good facility. There's a lot that's self-contained in there. They have water, they have sewer. There's a helipad. There's all kinds of things there. The spur tracks are huge as well, so that you could get a company that needs spur line, in and out. So
To me, Scott, and I'm just throwing this out, but we've heard a lot about Amazon wanting to locate. You got 500 acres there? To me, knowing the fact that you have there's very little low-flying aircraft around that area, what a perfect spot. Level that place, get Amazon in there, let them start testing that whole area for their drones and drone delivery. I say go for it. You got nothing to lose to ask. I mean,
Well, there you go.
I mean, to me, it's the perfect.
Absolutely, that's right.
To me, it's the perfect location. Now, if you can just get Jeff Bezos to come to
Yeah.
I was going to say, we can agree.
Let's see.
but-
So Jeff Bezos, if you're watching the show,
Yes,
we have a pitch for you.
You never know.
Exactly.
Let me help.
that's right.
Now, let's talk a little bit for just a minute about the fact that you guys are both up for re-election, right? You got on the board what year?
2012.
2012. How about you, Lynn?
2012 as well.
2012. You both came on, both from the Oswego area, both young, kind of close in age. I think you are probably fairly. No, I don't know. Don't answer that question.
Scott is my much younger friend.
You couldn't.
We're very close in age, yes.
So anyway, you are about to embark on your second election, because you each got two-year terms
yes,
first, right?
2-year terms. So
one,
this
two,
is our
your
third time around.
Third
yes.
time around. Now this time you get 4 years, right?
Correct.
Okay, that's a relief, isn't it?
A little bit.
So anyway, you have somebody running against you. There's only 3 of you running for 2 spots, right?
Correct.
And that fella, he was implicated, more than just implicated, in some very negative campaigning. It was public knowledge, it was in court documents that he was part of it. How do you feel about this negative campaigning that went on with somebody who is now running against you? You have some kind of, I don't know, fear or concern that negative campaigning could be used against you guys?
Well, I would say certainly there's always that fear in the back of your mind that you hope that you have a positive campaign on the issues. We can disagree on different things, but it doesn't need to get to that negative state. And I think that in Kendall County especially, that's not something that has gone over very well so far. And so my hope is, and I certainly will be keeping it positive and issue related.
Right. And I can speak for myself when I say that I also ran 2 campaigns as a former school board member for District 308 for Oswego, and never had participated in any negative campaigning, nor was I the recipient of any negative campaigning. But I find it very disappointing in general when that goes on in any one of these races. I really feel as if you should concentrate on your record, what you stand for, what you feel the important issues are, and quite frankly, if your own house is not in order, then you really shouldn't be talking about somebody else's.
Yeah, well, that's true. And I think the 3 guys that were implicated in those negative campaigns, and I can't say, I mean, they used one against me, they used one against Purcell, they used one against Debbie Gillette, and by the way, I am no relation to Debbie Gillette. Can we get that straight finally? And that was Jerry Bannister, Dan Kokel, and then a guy from, who is now over in Henry County, by the name of John Zahn, that were all implicated in this, in this negative campaigning. And thousands of dollars were spent on that kind of negative campaigning, and then just happened to send the stuff out the day before the election. So, I think it'll be interesting to see if they try the same, smoke and mirrors kind of job to go after you guys, or somebody over in District 1 just for the, the heck of it. And Bannister ran how many unsuccessful campaigns? He never got elected.
Right.
So, maybe he was just bitter. Who knows? I don't know. But that's my...
You say it'll be interesting. We're hopeful that it doesn't occur, I think.
Correct.
Yeah, well, you never know. I mean, they it worked. You just keep working at it, and if
And I'll be quite honest, Anne, we are working very hard with what we're doing at the county and with everything else that goes into our lives, and I really, quite frankly, don't have time for that.
Yep.
And I don't want to put words in Scott's mouth, but I really don't know how he would find time for that either.
No, well, you guys just aren't that kind of people. That's all there is to it. Now, let me ask another couple of questions. I want to talk a little bit about your budget. How did you end up this year?
We balanced the budget this year.
You balanced it. So you didn't have to go negative. Why do you think that worked better this year?
Well, I'm going to give a lot of credit to Lynn and her leadership. She's on the finance committee, and the quote that I heard from her over and over, and I'm paraphrasing, you can say exactly what it was, but it was basically, we're going to look in every nook and cranny before we go back to the taxpayers, and that was something that I had said, that I wanted us to do as well. And you really got in there, and I feel like set the tone. And you could probably talk better to it, but
I've been saying it for a long time, and we did manage to balance the budget as brand new board members that first year that we were there. And I had hoped that we would continue to do so. And unfortunately, we had a couple of years where it just didn't work. No matter how we tried to put that puzzle together, it didn't work. And this year I came in and said, there is no reason that we can't. That we have got to just put our minds to it and stand firm and say, we will balance this budget. Whatever it takes, we'll balance it.
And everybody, of course, everybody doesn't get what they want.
Right.
Correct.
But isn't that the whole thing of compromise? Everybody gets something, but nobody gets everything.
We should never have a negotiation where everyone walks away happy
Right.
that they've gotten everything that they wanted. There's not a negotiation there if that's the case.
One of the things that you changed is you changed providers for your health insurance.
Yes.
And that wasn't this year, that was last year actually, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
2 years ago? And how did the employees all react to the change?
I think that there was some hesitation and some, maybe originally some fear of change, as there is any time that you have change. But we tried our best to put out as much information as we possibly could. Health insurance happens in such a quick time frame, and it's just the nature of the beast. It's just the way that it happens.
From the time they tell you what your increase is going to be till the time you have to make a decision on what you can live with is not a very long time.
No, we sometimes have 6 weeks. We sometimes have less than that. And so it's a very short time frame that we need to educate the employees and try to get as much information to them about the plans so that they can make a decision, so we can turn in all of the paperwork that we need to the insurance company, and they need to turn around and get cards out. And there's always some struggle when there's a change.
Yeah.
So we were happy that we did not have to make another change this year.
And there's always a lot of uncertainty especially over the last several years with health insurance, and I've seen it in my own job. We see it at the county, and that's one of the most important things in a person's life. It just affects their lives, literally. And so from our perspective, we want to make sure that we're providing our employees with the best possible coverage, because we want them to be able to take care of their families and themselves, and we want them healthy and doing the work of the county. But at the same time, we have the budget that we have to look over too, and so we need to get the best bang for our buck.
And the county has always had some of the best insurance coverage anywhere. I mean,
Yes.
it was Plan A from the very beginning. Part of that has to do with, of course, the unions and the fact that they, in their contract, it was written they had to have at least equal or better. They could not go backwards on that. We've got to take a little bit of a break, but we're going to come back. We have a lot more to talk about. Stick with us. I'm here with Scott Gryder and Lynn Cullick, Vice Chairman and Chairman of the Board. We'll be right back.
They said I have troll teeth.
That my voice sounded like a possessed baby doll.
That no one would ever love someone as stupid as me.
That I was fat, ugly.
Disgusting.
The effect of bullying is potent.
We will no longer be the silent majority.
Now, when you see online bullying, there's something you can do about it.
We're gonna take action with the I.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness.
I am a witness, and so are you.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. As it turns out, we have very similar personalities. And this cat makes me make art because he's always motivating me to take pictures of him, to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. It's just that simple. Well, he's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Todd's a great guy. I mean, look at him. What a sweetheart. Attaboy. Wait, Todd, what are you doing? How totally selfish and un-Todd-like of you. Come on, Todd. Come on, man.
It's not always easy being a dad.
Do you have panda asthma too? Does that run in the family?
This is the home of the most priceless kung fu artifacts.
But when you make an effort...
Dad, we're not supposed to touch anything. Oh, sorry.
Go long, son!
It's always worth it.
Whoa! Master!
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
I am gonna get you. I'm gonna get you.
Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov to learn more.
Welcome back to Fox, excuse me, welcome back to Fox Valley Today. I'm here with Lynn Cullick and Scott Gryder. Scott, chairman of the board for Kendall County, and Lynn, who is the vice chair. You know, I'd like you to talk a little bit about your accomplishments, about things that you feel really good about that you've done. And Lynn, let's start with you, and then we'll move over here to Scott, because you do have different duties.
Yes. You know, I think I feel really good about the fact that when we first were elected to the board, that we came in with some ideas and some initiatives that we wanted to set into place. It was important to us to be the best board members that we could be. That was one of the things that was very, very important right from the get-go. And we took advantage of the University of Illinois United Counties Council Leadership Academy. That was one of the first things that we did right off the bat. So we are both graduates of that academy. And you know, Scott and I both have taken every opportunity that we can for any type of training that we can make ourselves better board members. And I think that that's a huge accomplishment. And I think some of the other initiatives that I'll let Scott talk about, because I know we need to give him a chance to do that, but some of the other transparency initiatives and some of the just better, more cooperative, more efficient government was really the main goal, and I think that we have made great strides towards that.
Yeah, because you do go in pretty green, but the whole thing, you have to, it's a real learning curve. How about you, Scott?
Yeah, well, let me just start by saying what a tremendous honor it is to serve, you know, the people of Kendall County, and you know, District 2 is where we're running, but you really, with only 10 board members, we travel this entire county and really study, you know, I would say just about every vote. You know, we're looking at if it affects Plano, Manuka, you know, whatever area, you know, we're looking at. And, you know, with that, there are a lot of different things that I'm proud of. You mentioned like just being more efficient. That's something we're looking at this year. Just the things that aren't necessarily real exciting to talk about, but, you know, the process and procedures, you know, with animal control is one that came up recently. You know, the brokers that we're using with to bid our health insurance, we're looking at. One thing that actually John Shaw put me on the CMAP as the CMAP liaison. Not something that a lot of people I think know about in Kendall County, but that's the Chicago Metropolitan Agency for Planning. We're able to they actually fund a lot of the road work that we do in the county, and we do pay some dues to that, but we get back, you know, millions of dollars that more than makes up for the dues that we're paying on it.
Right.
The transparency initiatives that we took. And you hit the nail on the head when you said that you come in green. We have all these ideas, you know, when we're not on the board, and then you get in. We try to make some inroads, but then you also kind of understand that there's a process that you have to follow.
Right.
And there are others that have been there longer that don't necessarily share what you you want them to do.
And I, you know, people could say how they want to about term limits, but I think when you have a small board and you have a growing population, the historical factor of having board members that have been there for 10 years, 12 years, whatever, that is very important because they can tell you why they had to do something in a certain way. Now, I want to go back to CMAP just for a second on that. Randy Blankhorn, who was originally the leader of the CMAP, I don't know, executive director or chairman of the group or whatever, has moved on and he is transportation secretary.
That's correct.
Does he come up to the meetings still and make an appearance and talk a little bit about how broke everything is? And let me ask you the other thing, that tax that we instituted a year ago on the Build Illinois, I think it was, when we started. In other words, the money that was to go into the transportation funds could no longer be robbed for anything else. Does that affect you guys at all?
So far, well, the answer is yes. He does. He moved from one chair to the next as the transportation secretary. He now chairs the CMAP meeting.
Okay.
Before, as the executive director of CMAP, he sat the chair to the left, and now he.
Now he's got the main chair,
he does.
right? Mm-hmm.
And so it's been interesting, and he has actually always had he told me this, that a fondness for Kendall County because he grew up in McHenry, and he felt that we are very similar to McHenry County, and you know, kind of where they are or were 20 years ago is what he'd said. So
right.
That is interesting. I'm glad you mentioned that. One of the things that about the tax, I actually want to talk about our own transportation tax. The state of Illinois is now taking 2% fee out of that. We're one of 2 counties that has that.
Right.
So I feel like we're a little bit being singled out there, and I'm hopeful that our legislators may try to exempt us from that at some point.
Well, let's see. You must be collecting at least $5 million, almost $5 million between the public safety tax and then another 5 for the public transportation tax. 2%, what's that amount to? 100,000. That's a couple $100,000.
It's a couple $100,000, right?
Yeah, I mean that's right out of your.
For doing nothing
right.
different.
Yeah, for doing a pass through on the money.
Right.
Do they are they charging everybody for doing a pass through? I can't say how they could even legally do that.
Well, and that's a question that we've kicked around as well. We're hopeful to have a legislative fix, but it's something that some members have asked if there is a way for us to fight this against the state, and you know, that's something we're looking at.
You know, it's always surprised me that other counties haven't picked up that same thing on instituting and trying to seriously pass referendums for transportation and public safety. Right. It takes a lot of the burden off the budget of the county when you know that money is sitting there and can be targeted to just for those things. Not salaries, not equipment, but bricks and mortar, security, you know, systems, things like that. It's just.
Well, and Kendall County was in really good shape with the closing of the Millington Bridge. That's right on the border with LaSalle County,
right.
and it's taken longer because LaSalle has to go through the federal process, and we could have done it with our transportation tax. You know, Kendall County could have done it.
Yeah, did they ask to borrow the money from you guys, and then so you could go ahead and move it, and then they could pay you back?
Either way, it was going to involve the federal government pass through, and so they still have to go through the process.
They still have to
get
do
there.
it.
So
okay.
we're still looking. That's actually one of our goals in 2018 is to get that done and reopen, but it won't be till the end of the year.
There's a big project coming up down on Grove Road where they're going to be closing Grove Road for almost a year between Van Dyke and 52, which should maybe help at least slow the accidents down at 52 and Grove Road, which are a real problem. I want to quickly hit, we've only got a little bit of time left, the Pickerel Piggott property out there off of Minkler Road. Beautiful piece of property. Yeah. I see you're going to do a few upgrades to the house, to the Pickerel home.
What I'll say that forest preserve is, to me, and I can't wait to get it open to the public because it's one of the most beautiful
it's gorgeous.
in the county, I think, and so you can.
You know, and I think right now that we're truly concentrating on some safety issues and some code issues is really first and foremost, and I think that our director is doing a phenomenal job with trying to figure out what the programming will be for that home and how do we open that preserve to the public. What's the best use right now?
Yeah, and that Pickerel home there, right out of the 60s, 70s, Jackie Kennedy or Princess Margaret could have moved into that place. It would have fit them just perfect. I mean, it really is a beautiful home, all brick, and it really is something to see. It could almost be a museum for that time era. So I think it's going to be exciting to see how you guys can best use that piece of that home anyway.
I think there'll be a lot of local history that we will unearth as well.
I bet you could. Listen, we got to close our program. Thank you very much for joining Fox Valley Today. Thank you to Scott Gryder and Lynn Cullick. We'll see you next time on Fox Valley Today. Run over and turn on 107.1. We'll be over there in about 5 or 6 minutes. Thanks for joining us.